our panel discussion from the Bharat Connect, the month of May. We are happy to see all of you here again, once again, and hopefully we'll be able to bring you another interesting topic. That's listening is the key to understanding, right? So we all know that, but how much we do that and how important is listening and how to take advantage of it and how to use it to go in your favor. That's the main theme that we are here to learn today. And we have a great panelist here. So I will introduce the panelist, towards a end of the introducing the topic itself. Right. Let me go through the topic first. So one of the the incident that triggered this topic of this event is listening to a podcast where one of the lady entrepreneur was mentioned, so she has created a guilt-free industry where that snacking has becoming a guilt-free, and then over 250 crore organization has become. So one of the questions asked to her is so how do you make come up with the products and the product lines, where do you get this idea from, right? That was one of the main question. So her answer was well, we are listening to our customers, we are keeping in touch with them constantly and listening to them and being in touch with them in all different channels and in different ways, and what they want, how they want, what they don't like and things like that. So we are making all the adjustments according to that, and and then we have some more our way of predicting what is going to be how, where we can steer them through and things like that, right? So some innovation, but then based on a realistic expectation from the customer, so that seems to be the driving factor for their success. So we would have heard about this kind of stories from many different companies, founders and all that. And for the other companies where we have not heard also, if you dig through, probably there is something behind that, and that story that tells you something similar to that, because listening is so important, and how we can get things in place that are most needed for our business to survive and thrive, right? So that's the whole idea. So that's how we came up with this topic. So given the topic, so then we started looking who we would be able to get for this panel discussion and how we can take advantage of that. So we have three wonderful panelists. So let me go one by one. So let me introduce first Srivats Vardarajan. So Srivats is a leading global fintech and digital evangelist with a laser sharp entrepreneurial, innovative and strategic execution skills. He has 23 plus years of experience, worked in various financial streams like customer service, operations, strategic planning, and financial accounting across domains like BFSI, telecom, BPO, KPO, and airlines. So he is currently working as a COO of Spice Money, and I'm sure you would have add immense he's going to be adding immense value to our discussion today and share his experiences. So we look forward to listening to you, Stewards, and welcome to the panel discussion. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
So next one panelist is Ishwar Natarajan, founder and director of IBO InsurTech. So it's a startup company, which he is starting a new journey after many years of his experience with the industries within the insurance. Right, he was working as a COO at Kotak General Insurance. He had various stints heading sales, distribution, underwriting, and operations. He has also had stints with Tata AIG Insurance and ICICI Lombard General Insurance companies. So, after playing all the key roles and having a education from IIM Bangalore, and also he's a cost accountant from ICW. So he has a lot of qualification that goes for him, and which makes him uniquely qualified and ready to take on his new venture with his startup. So we would like to wish him all the best for his startup, and we want to welcome you, sir, Ishwanath Rajan, to this panel, and thank you so much for being with us. So let's jump into the discussion, right? So the we want to, like, how we want to structure this panel is like give a few discussion points so we can all share the thought process, how we want to be able to how you come across, what is your experience, and come up with and explain, like, from your understanding of how we can handle this, right? So that would be the idea, right? So let's, like, get this one first point, that is, like, it is given that listening is key to providing the best possible customer experience. The customer experience experts talk about active listening to customers, and it builds trust and rapport. How do you bring about this listening culture, and what techniques do you use in active listening? So we'll take a, like, this question to both of you, Srivats and Ishwar Natarajan, one by one. Whoever wants to go first.
Sure. Uthaman, I'll just give the background about Spice Money as an organization which I represent, so
Yeah.
that we will set context to the discussion that we're doing right now. So Spice
Okay.
Money is India's largest rural fintech organization, where we've got more than 1 million merchants catering to more than 100 crore plus transactions across 16% of the population of India across tier 3 and tier 4. Now, largely we are into payments business, where we have capability of payments capability built in for rural India, which includes your cash in, cash out business, domestic money transfer, deposits, and also we have extended our B2B portal, which is called as Travel Union.
Mhm.
And this, apart from this, we also extend the digital lending programs for merchants. Now, talking about the listening as a capability, right? So now you look at this entire program that we are running is a
Yeah.
B2B, B2C kind of a model,
Yeah.
which means there are two areas where we need to listen to. The intermediary, which is the merchants, for whom we have given the complete digital ecosystem, who are
Yeah.
the digital entrepreneurs and the financial entrepreneurs who consume our product to
Mhm.
facilitate and further actively engage with their end consumers. Now, these
Yeah.
are villages with a where they cater to the walk-in customers across 5 kilometers radius, where they have these digital systems and they engage with those customers, which means availability becomes very critical. And
Critical.
anything that impacts him to serve better to the end consumer, that information reaching us is very crucial for him to give a better quality of services and better delivery. Now, from a listening perspective, if you say there are two kinds of listening, right? One is active listening and passive listening. Most of the listening efforts in this kind of a model, where proactively, when the merchant depends upon your digital ecosystem, he tries to reach you because his service level depends upon your service. So
Yeah.
they try to connect you through ecosystems like, say, email, WhatsApp messages, or they try to post it. Some of them are super active in LinkedIn to connect to their customers to promote their products. Some of them they call at the call center, and most of them. So this becomes more of an passive listening coming from them. But the active listening happens when we build our product and engage with them. So what we have done over a period of last 3 years is during COVID, we've extensively connected through Zoom calls and Google Meets. And whenever we design the products and services, we listen to them. We create a prototypes of low fidelity design and high fidelity design. We validate those design, because usually all the companies in products and services, the mistake that they do is they build the product and then they go to the market, and then they do a GTM strategy to validate whether it works in 30, 60, 90 days or not. We exactly reverse the entire philosophy, saying that let's listen to them, let's bounce off the idea, consume what they feel is the right product definition and service definition, because they are going to serve the end consumer who is standing in his counter. The positive side of this entire activity is they got engaged. They also got actively understood that we are listening to them. Also, it helped us to reduce the life cycle for training them. So the training capabilities were far more superior. The absorption capability was far more superior, and then they became your advocate. So
Yeah.
from that aspects, the listening becomes very critical from the initial stage. When you define your products and services, you need to have your intermediaries and your end consumer as part of the journey.
Yeah.
Now, you may think that since it's a B2B journey, it's much more easy because it's your distribution network. But beyond that, I've seen also a lot of companies, when they create their prototypes, they go to a minimum viable product, they go to consumers, they give those products and services for them to test and give a valuable feedback.
Mhm.
And now that feedback has to be should not be selective listening, and that is where the third type of listening comes in. So what happens is, when there is a lot of feedback coming from the market, you may choose to be selective listener on taking the feedback on what you feel
Okay. Yeah.
is right on the hypothesis. Say the moment you do that, people guard on the sample size. They say, okay, the sample size is too less, or with the 10 sample size, you declare that this products and services will work. It will not work. So you need to have an extensive cohort. You need to understand your segmentation. So there is a lot of analysis that has to come into it in terms of listening. Also, listening comes from the statistics. You don't have to actually wait for those messages coming to SMS, WhatsApp, and other medium. You don't have to actually also wait for products and services calls to be done. You can also look at your reports and transaction data. If you see your numbers are dipping in a particular region, in a particular location, it's a kind of a listening that you're getting. You come to know why
Yeah.
those particular specific products in those regions. So you come to know, you have to listen also through reports and statistics as well. So these are the different types of listening where you have to effectively use in your strategy and accordingly get back to your customers or your distribution network to make it more meaningful.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks, Stevens. Yeah, very well said. Like, so starting itself, you have engaged and then got some feedback and then built the platform. That's a very good to know. Okay. So, Ishwar Natarajan, so you want to share your thoughts on this? Sir, you have muted.
So
Yeah.
today the market is very, very competitive.
Mhm.
You have to listen to customer in every possible ways. If a customer is buying a Maruti car, you need to know why is he buying a car
Uh,
first. Then you should ask. Then you should ask him why are you preferring Maruti. So these two important questions you have to ask in a proper way. So is he upgrading from a two-wheeler to a four-wheeler? As the number of members in his family gone up, because of which he is forced to buy a car, things like that. Second thing is, what makes him buy a Maruti car and not a Hyundai car? So, these two important questions are extremely important for somebody to understand why the customer is preferring you over others. So the difference between a good company, a successful company, and a average Me Too company is only this:
yeah.
do you have the intellectual capital to understand why is the customer buying from you?
You.
Okay. So if you
Mhm.
are able to do that, then you become a market leader. And again, moving up from a market leader to a position of innovator, like what Steve Jobs did. Basically, you have to listen to the behaviors of customer and understand what he wants. He may not be able to express it. So when Steve Jobs came up with the Palm Top and the iPhone, nobody would have thought, if you had taken a market research to a customer would have given would have told you, give me a big size computers and things like that.
Yeah.
But Steve Jobs really came up with um, beautiful specifications, which was beyond even customers' comprehension. So it exactly fitted into what customer wanted. So if you are listening both intuitively and listening orally, then you will be able to come up with something nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the listening is a very, very difficult thing, because in the process, in various steps in the company, we dumbify the process, because we do not want people to think. We want people to just follow whatever we are saying. Okay. So in the normal process, we dumbify the people through processes. You just do this. Don't think. Okay. So that's where some of those intelligence gets lost. So listening is one of the biggest qualities which somebody should inculcate in culture of the company.
Company. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So the culture of the company has to be towards listening.
That's
How will that happen? If the bosses don't listen to subordinates, bosses don't take feedback from people on the ground, then the customer will not get what he wants. So in a large organization, the connect with the people on the ground gets lost.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So then the listening chain gets lost.
Last, yeah.
Okay. People don't travel, to the ground and understand what does a, channel partner want, what does a customer want. And slowly this complacency and arrogance, comes in and says, see, I know everything, I've been on the road for so many years. So, the new things are never picked up from the market.
Okay, yeah.
So it has to be in the culture of listening, which you have to showcase to your employees. You should be listening to the, front end line. And second thing is, you should not have the arrogant, culture of arrogance where the bosses dictate terms and people have to just listen.
Just yeah.
So getting that culture is important, because culture will have strategy for breakfast. You can have all the strategies you want, but if there's no culture of taking feedback, listening to the customer is there, then whatever strategies you can talk of will fail.
Yeah.
So it's a very, very difficult subject, but I think that's what you have to do.
Yeah. Very well said, sir. Yeah. It takes a lot of like a patience and discipline and as you rightly pointed out, culture, right, should be there, like because this is not something like a lot of technical involved, right? It's not anything to do with the technology or anything. It is just how you engage and how you understand and like how you perceive things, and then use the technology and other means to get things done. So yeah.
So I believe in one thing: if something is happening, there's a reason why it is happening. If something is not happening, there's a reason why it is not happening. So you have to find out why these things are not happening, and then try to change them. You may not be able to change 100% of things you want to change, but if you understand why it has not happened, okay. So I'll give you a good example. In India, doing insurance for outpatient treatment, okay, is almost close to impossible.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, in US it is US and European countries, it's very, very easy to do insurance for outpatient treatment. The outpatient treatment, you go to a doctor and he charges you for consulting fees, and you have only normal cough and cold. Then you go to a pharmacy and buy a tablet and then go home. So all these are covered in European countries, American insurance companies cover. In India, it is not possible. Okay, it has not happened in last 60 years, and it will not happen for next 60 years. Largely because, so you have to approach this topic with understanding is if something is not happening, there's a reason. Largely because in India, all the pharmacy shops sell soaps, paste, and all these grocery items. So you let a customer buy from these shops, he will buy soaps and all that and bill it as medicine, because of which insurance companies cannot afford all this. Okay, so like that, you have to approach a topic, thinking that there's some reason why it is not happening, and let's find out why it is not happening. And then you go with that humility, you will be able to come up with a lot of nice things. But without understanding the ground realities, you try to change the world, and that's where the failure comes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Okay, so you're saying the pharmacies in India, when they sell some other cosmetic items, there are really no category to say that this is actual prescription versus a non-prescription or something. Oh, okay.
He'll just give you a bill for $1,000, but you would have bought all the groceries.
Okay. Yeah. It's going to be a nightmare for an insurance company to get into the details of that level to understand what is.
It's not doable at all.
No, it's not. It's just not possible. I mean, we do have pharmacies sell a lot of other stuff in the US. Like they have the size of the store also have grown, right? It's like it used to be smaller. Now, if you think about it, like like the average pharmacy are like about 2,000-3,000 or more square feet big, meaning like they have all the aisles, right, everything else, but within that pharmacy they have a separate section that is like just for the prescription, right? And there is a pharmacist there who will distribute that medicine or take the prescription and everything. So that's strictly controlled, meaning so you cannot do anything. You can just go buy things and go, but if you want to get that medicine, you have to have the prescription, and that is strictly controlled in that way. You are saying that is not there, so yeah, that can, it looks very simple, but it can be a
Can't be
nightmare. Just a nightmare. Yeah, yeah, very good point. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. Yeah. Okay, so let's go to the next discussion point, that is Srivat's, this is for you. We'll start with you on this. Customers typically make two snap decisions about an organization across its touch points, right? First one being, does this company know how far, how to care for my presenting need? And the second one, does this company care about me, right? How do you provide the comfort for the customer while soliciting feedback about what they perceive about your interactions?
All right. So largely for us, the customers are going to be the merchants who use our platforms to serve their end consumers.
Mhm.
So the first important solutioning for this is to make them as part of your inclusive growth and also part of your inclusive product strategy. So that becomes your first part of your listening, where they become a part of your ecosystem and they collaborate along with you. So that gives them a comfort level, saying that, look, this growth story, the product definition and services is something I have defined. So your 80% of the battle is won, because then there will be less of a crib. Otherwise, usually what's happening in the industry is we decide what is right in terms of products and processes, and we hard push it in the market. And that's where your mis-selling, force selling, and all those things happens in the market, which creates a vicious cycle of huge amount of complaints, because there is a mismatch in the understanding and representation of the products and services. So that is the first gap that we need to solve. The second is there are certain feedbacks which comes during the life cycle. So when you introduce your product services and when your representation in the market, you may not get the accurate feedback in the initial first 30, 60, 90 days. But there are some products for which you need to give time, which is consumed, which is experienced, and further when it gets serviced, you will get a continuous feedback coming in. So the usual approach which we take in the industry is we wait for the complaints to come in, but the silent listening which comes from the digital medium is what we need to tap. So traditionally, you need to understand that you need to connect the customer at two levels. One is during his purchase life cycle, and second to connect to him during his service life cycle. Now, what do I mean by purchase life cycle? Is once he becomes your customer,
Yeah.
he is forever your customer. So you need to track his life cycle and needs and products and start introducing the cross-selling, upselling opportunities. Now, how do you listen to him? Passively, when you look at his social media interactions, his capabilities, what he's posting in Facebook. Like, for example, a person who's a young kid who's 24-year-old, has got a new, fresh new job. How do you introduce your bikes to him? Then when he becomes 28, 32, how do you introduce home loans to him? And then when he's at around 34, when he says that he's getting married, then how do you get insurance policies, family group policies, and thereby start connecting to his life cycle product. Now, when he consumes one product during the life cycle, there are certain products which are immediate consumption. There are certain products which is there along with him for throughout the life cycle.
Yeah.
To give an example, since I've worked across a financial services organization, once you buy an insurance from one company, they don't get back to you at all. A term plan is sold to him for 25 years, they don't bother to look about it. Same is the problem with home loan. You take a home loan from that person, it's a 25 years loan. They don't bother to sniff and understand what are you doing, whether you're going for a second home, whether you're going for a third home. They don't bother to connect. They don't bother to update their records in terms of lifestyle and the income that has increased from the person. When they sell that product, they do their evaluations, they understand their income capability, but there is no capability of software way of listening to him and understand his income capability to further do cross-sell and upsell. Now, there's a long miles way to go ahead on this, right? Now, this is, I'm talking about tier one and tier two. This is the situation when you have got so much of digital footprint, we don't have a capability of assembling this digital footprint into a meaningful life cycle analysis.
Yeah.
Now, areas like tier three and tier four, you don't have a digital footprint coming in. Now,
Yeah.
here is where you need to work very closely with your intermediary and create an capability where he enters at least the name, occupation, income, and certain details, and create a virtual life cycle for him, And
Yeah.
with every entry point and touch point, when the customer walks in, you give him an assisted guidance pop-ups for him to cross-sell and upsell product for every interactions that he's coming to, that the customers coming to that merchant.
Yeah.
These are the ways. These are nothing but a capability to build listening through multiple channels. Now, it calls for a lot of empathy and a lot of acceptance for saying that, not to be in a denial to say that I know everything about my customer. Technically, I can say 90-95% of the organization which is serving their customer, they actually don't know about their customer, because it's all about the sales numbers that drives the entire engagement with the customer. But it's not about long sustained relationship. That culture is yet to come in India.
Oh, okay. 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 Very well said, sir. Yeah. Thanks for sharing. Yeah. So there are a lot of interesting points there. Yeah. So surprised to know that even like a large companies, tier one, tier two market, also they are leaving this kind of a gold mine, like not tapped, right? Because cross selling, upselling, and keeping up with the customer life cycle is so critical, right? For a company of any size, right? It just doesn't matter. So yeah. Okay, so the next question will go to Ishwan Rajan. Sir, there is this saying, customer listening should be in the best interest of the customer, not the brand. This cannot be truer, right? What kind of questions do you ask that show your customers that you want to serve them better?
So, while all the intelligent people in the companies can say anything they want, customer is the most intelligent guy, and
So,
he will he will decide what he wants, and he
yeah,
will do what he wants. Okay. So sometimes as the companies grow bigger and bigger, a lot of arrogance creeps in, a lot of insensitivity creeps in. So that changes the culture of the company. And when it is a startup, they all come up with enthusiasm and right culture and all that. So I'm helping you buy something you want. Okay, and I have to be most genuine about it. Okay, and I have to quote a price. Okay, there's a value proposition, there's a cost. If the product's value proposition is much higher than the cost, the customer would buy. If the cost is higher than value proposition, it will not get sold. Okay, so it is the company's maturity to understand what is the value of these value propositions, and then price the product properly. So there are a lot of customers who will just walk away. Okay, this is what I'm saying, listening to what he doesn't say.
yeah,
Okay, so in insurance companies, out of 100 customers, we uh, sell the policies to. When they come for renewals, only 65 people come back to us.
okay,
35 don't come to us.
okay,
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 they just walk away.
okay, yeah,
Okay, so they could be poached by the competition because competition is high. They could be attracted by low price. It could be right. We could have messed up the service. The perception about brand must have worsened in the period. It can be 100 reasons. Okay, irrespective of how big the company is, customer finally decides what he wants to do, and he will do it.
yeah,
So it is in our own selfish interest to understand what is happening in his mind, which is changing very fast. So there are low involvement products. There are high involvement products. Insurance is a low involvement product. I don't want that insurance manager to sit with me every day morning in the breakfast and talk to me nicely.
yeah,
It's a painful thing. But if it is my bank manager where I put my money, where I keep my fixed deposits, I would want to, if he's free, I would want him to have breakfast with me every day because I want to check whether my money is safe or not. So there are high involvement products. There are low involvement products. In a high involvement products, anything is possible. But in low involvement products, you should not unnecessarily mess up and waste his time.
yeah.
So that is important, qualification we need to understand.
Yeah, 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 very true. So we should know what we are trying to do, and where is that limit, right? So depends on, as you rightly pointed out, high value or low value, and end of the day, it should be of helpful for some sort to the customer. Cannot be a inconvenient or across the board there. So yeah, that can impact. Okay, thank you, sir. So she was so we'll move to the next one where it is bringing in some observation from a psychiatrist, Carl Menninger. So observed that listening is a magnetic and strange thing, a creative force. The friends who listen to us are the ones who we move forward. When we are listened to, it creates us, makes us unfold and expand. So, what does this wisdom mean to business success today? I'm sure, you would have, you rightly pointed out, you are working with the B2B, or before even coming up with a platform and everything. So, I'm sure you have some good thoughts on this one.
Yeah, absolutely. So since you said this is the thought process that has come from psychiatrists, there's something called a psychology of selling as well, right? Now,
Yeah,
this was authored and written by Brian Tracy. So what does he say specifically in the psychology of selling? The psychology of selling is to empathize and understand the need-based requirement and position your product according to it and give your services according to it, so that you create a lifetime value for the customer.
customer.
The
Yeah,
lifetime value of a customer is never an index. You look at any ratios in the business model today in India, you don't talk about lifetime value of customer. You don't put a lifetime value index. None of the balance sheet isn't reported, right? That's where most of the industries are struggling, right? Retention, churn, and what you call as holding the customer back. Now, now we can keep saying that which is the right time the customer decides, like rightly pointed out by Ishwan sir. But what is more important is sometimes psychologically, when you listen a lot, your 90% of selling is already done. 10% is
yeah,
all about just representing the product. Even if
okay,
you look from the psychology of a customer, he actually doesn't want you to speak. He wants you to listen. He already knows what he wants. He is an educated, smart, intelligent guy. When he comes to you, and especially in today's world, he's done enough comparison and homework. He just comes to you. He wants you to listen, and he just wants to validate his conclusion. He is not waiting for you to assist him and guide him. He has done 80% of his work. He has taken three quotes, he has taken four comparison, he has come to you, and that additional judgmental is on your empathy, on understanding whether you're ready to listen to him, because that is where he creates a perception saying that in the entry point of the sale, if you're not ready to listen and force selling and you try to push it on me, then it's going to be very difficult tomorrow when it comes for, say, for example, claims, or when it comes for writing off of loans, or for example, when it comes for any other product consumption.
yeah,
So, as rightly put across, the psychology of selling says is allow him to take the judgment, allow him to take the call. You listen 80% and speak just 20% for closure. Psychology of selling says that you need to focus more energy on the closures, not on trying to sell the product and its services and characteristics. You need to be, the reason why you have to listen is also you need to understand whether he has done his homework.
yeah.
Even that
Thank you.
also gives you what you call as tips to say that what is the relevant point which he has missed in his homework, which you need to present it rather than representing the entire product. The product
Yeah,
might have 15 characteristics. He already knows 9 characteristics which you have spoken, you have listened to it. You just talk about the delta 2. It helps you to close faster closure. So you need to be a smart salesman.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. Knowing yeah, what needs to be spoken is all the difference it makes, especially for the sales. Yeah, yeah. Thanks. Thanks, Evath. So we'll move to the next topic, which is going in the same direction but a little bit different. So, Ishwar sir, so we'll take input from you. Most customers think that providing feedback to brands is a thankless job, as they are convinced about how the feedback is acted upon. How do you, what do you do with the feedback that you receive? how do you ensure that your customers know that they have been listened to?
No, so Uttaman, the basic problem is world is changing very fast. Okay. Um, some of us are older people. We are partly caught up in the past. Okay. But the frighteningly, the country is becoming younger and younger.
Okay.
Okay. Frighteningly is the word. 65% of the people are going to be below 35. Okay. And their behaviors are totally different. They don't listen. Capital letters. Okay. They don't talk.
Yeah.
Okay. So this listening concept will vanish because he is not going to talk. What is that to listen? He is not going to call the call center.
Mm.
Okay. Today I have a son and daughter. You ask them to call the call center and buy something, they will not buy.
Mm.
Okay. So when somebody is not talking, how will you make him listen?
Mm.
When what is that to listen? There's nothing for you to listen, and you can't talk to him, and you can't make him listen to you. So that is a challenge in the business today. So you just have to observe how the world is moving,
Mm.
and then just copy whatever the leaders are doing in your business. That's it. Okay. So
Okay.
so if you ask me, listening in the traditional sense will get outdated in another 10 years time because nobody is going to call the call center.
Okay.
If you see, all the businesses have moved towards platforms. Okay. I type 10 things, food comes to my door in 20 minutes time. You can talk about anything bad about Zomato you want, but he delivers it in 20 minutes and I get it without any confusion. So as more businesses will get onto platform. Okay. There will not be any too much of need for the call centers. Okay. And there will be
Mhm.
very, very few people who will talk to you and tell you what is not right. They will just move on.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
So let me tell you, insurance has been traditionally done through agents and brokers.
Yes.
When Policy Bazaar started doing insurance on the internet and the call center, okay, only young people started doing buying. Okay,
Mhm.
young people have no loyalty. They'll keep shopping around for the lowest price and they move on.
Move on. Yeah.
Okay, so in that world you cannot talk about loyalty. In that world you cannot talk about long-term value of the customer. Okay, so you need to
Mhm.
decide which word you want to belong to, and you have
Okay.
to adapt yourself to that.
Okay. Okay.
So frighteningly, in India, the business is moving towards less than 85, less than 35 younger people.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you have to decide where they are going, and
Yeah.
you have to just copy all the good things from that business into your business.
Yeah. True.
That's my
Yeah.
view. Okay,
Okay.
because everything else is going to get obsolete.
Absolutely. Okay. Okay.
Nobody is going to talk to you and tell you, that this is not nice. He will abuse you in the digital media and move on.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thanks, sir. So, Steve, it's like, what is your opinion on this? Like,
So my
when the
opinion
customer.
is, so there are multiple way in which we have evolved in the digital world, right? There's a concept called as social listening skills. There's a capability of MLAI that has been built in. Now, these are what do we do in this, right? We mine a lot of data of conversations and noise level that creates. Not many people have invested in these tools and capabilities. But in India, they will have to start really utilizing these tools and capabilities. What it does is it accumulates the big data information and puts it into a structured format and helps you analyze the noise levels.
Mhm.
Now, this has been smartly implemented by a lot of organizations. So, what happens is it creates it identifies specific words, and then basis that it enlarges the sizes of the words and creates a combination of these words and tells you that what is the noise level that is getting created at a state level, district level, and at a village level via social media. The same combination is replicated today across digital contact centers. Not many organizations understand the digital contact center concepts. Now, what is the digital contact center concept is you can interact through WhatsApp, you can interact through chat messages, and what it does is it picks up information through your email, your chat, your responses back through social media, and then it creates a complete tray and represents in front of you as an analytical report. Okay, and that classifies further, and here is where the analytical thinking comes in, right? So it classifies further whether the noise level is in terms of complaint, whether the noise level or the information that is coming to you is in terms of suggestion, or whether it is a kind of an passive communication.
Yeah.
Now, all this information that is coming to big data and report is listening. It's called as social media listening. And this is a trend that will continue with the younger generation. They will communicate to you, but they will communicate to you through the forms and factors which is available in front of them, which means there are capabilities even today in the website and mobile app, not the traditional website and mobile app in India which we create, where rich information of FAQs are available, where you search in. If you don't search in, if you don't get in, immediately you click on the chat and you start chatting with the agent. The agent might be initially the bot, which is a guided bot, and then it also gets transferred beyond a particular stage through a man behind the machine. So the combination of all these things put together is called as digital contact center as a concept. Now, this is very extensively used in tech organizations, and this is being used by the tech organizations for more than 2 decades. So if you look for Google, Microsoft of the world, they've been extensively using this. This is slightly nascent in India. In India, we have started using it for last 6-7 years in terms of capabilities. Not extensively, we have managed to get into the space because largely in India, the digital literacy level is still low. But the population which Mr. Ishwan is talking about is digitally literate, irrespective of the country, zone, villages they are coming in for. But we need some more time to give it for us because the smartphone penetration in the rural India, where 61% of the population is there, is not more than 35%. So we need to give another 6-7 years in India to get into these kind of capabilities. Till that time, you can adopt these technologies, start curating it, bring accuracy level, so that you are prepared for the right time when these things are getting consumed. You are not trying to catch up; you are ahead of the curve. That's how we can maneuver through it.
Yeah. Very well said. Yeah. Digital contact center, and it's true actually. So we have to adapt and way of how we are letting them to interact with us. Otherwise, it's just not going to happen at all. Like Ishwar sir mentioning, like below 35, and they are very different in terms of how they want to interact, what they want to say, don't want to say. Sometimes they don't say anything at all. But we have to be able to understand why and what's going on. So yeah.
I'll give you a few examples, Uttaman.
Yeah.
Today, if you look at the lifestyle cars today gather information about your car, your service, your information, and sends it back in the backend data center. So today, a car manufacturer who has reduced the 45,000 moving parts to 7 moving parts, companies like Tesla and others, and with EV vehicles coming in, your information from the vehicle to the end manufacturer in terms of service center is going to go in an electronic form of transfer. Now, this is a kind of a listening. It's not a listening from me, but an automated capability of robotic or processes or automation being created, where it assimilates data and information, and the manufacturer in the backend in the data center listens to it. So it's a kind of an digital listening.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
No, so that is listening for your cost control, your product improvement, but it may not have anything to do with the customer.
Yeah.
So Uttaman, the unfortunate or fortunate part of our life is we are a generation where we have listened to the fathers. Again, we are listening to our sons. Okay. The next generation of people okay, the listening is going to be very, very less. And
Less.
fortunately, some of them are very intelligent, okay, and they've got their own, ways of communicating. So the traditional, listening skills, listening ways has to transform completely if you want to listen to the younger generation.
Yeah.
So you see China has completely changed. Same exactly like India. Two elderly people, one son or one daughter, because they had this, the concept of one child. The child doesn't even speak to the parent, which is happening in our home also. Most of the time they're in the iPad or cell phone.
Yep.
So the listening has to transform completely in next 10 years, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Yeah. 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 True.
So
Thank you.
gaming is one way of listening. Okay.
Yeah.
If you want to come up with products, do a proxy thing through gaming and then get inputs out of the people.
People.
So
Yeah.
gaming can be a good source of listening.
Listening. Yeah. Yeah.
So you have to come up with some proxy things to listen. The
Yeah.
traditional way of calling Mr. Uttaman, are you happy with our service? Over.
Oh.
Dead and buried.
Yeah. 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 True. Yeah. Okay. So
On
that
a,
takes us to
on a lighter note, my car listens to me. I have to just
yeah.
press a button and give it an instruction. It listens and it responds.
Yeah. It makes us feel good.
So I'm a satisfied customer with the car.
At least something somewhere, somebody listening. Yeah. Very true. Yeah. So that brings us to the last final discussion point. So this is like what we are discussing, the examples, right? Can you give us some examples how you have implemented some listening techniques in your organization? So if you can throw one or two examples um, in the insurance or in the fintech, or or you have read somewhere, that is also good enough.
So I think what we have done in last 3 years is we have introduced a team called as design thinkers. Now
Okay.
the extensive job of this design thinkers is they've spread across pan India, so that they can connect to the customers in their regional languages, especially because we are connected to the Bharat. And one of the way you can have an effective listening is to connect to the language in which you need to communicate to the customer and listen. It's
Yeah.
a two-way communication, right? So we have extensively started creating this philosophy of design thinking. First, we started this design thinking from the product and services and processes perspective. Then we introduced this across the organization, across all the functions. So when you define a customers, your customers are of various aspects, right? Your customer is someone who buys your products and services. Your employee is your customer. Between a boss and a subordinate, there is a customer relationship as well. So when you start treating even your internal functions as a customer and apply the design thinking philosophy as a 360-degree approach, then somewhere at least you will make a headroom of acceptance that you need to listen.
Yeah.
And that's where the cultural difference actually made a lot of sense to us, because then now when we started doing this design calls, the design thinking, the other functions started participating. So then there is no functional silos. So the finance or the risk or the compliance or the product and the sales doesn't say that, look, this is not my job, it's the job of product to go and listen to the customer. All of them inclusively participate. They've started listening to each other, and within functions also uh, we've started doing this. We are also inculcating this culture within HR for not doing selective listening during appraisals and do more of design process even during appraisals.
Yeah, that's very, very interesting. Especially for HR. Yeah. 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 Thanks, Shiva. Sir Ishwar, sir. Your
Yeah. So one is, we have put a very strict review process on complaints.
okay.
Complaints, have come down over a period of time. Whatever we are getting, that will be put through stress test completely. Okay, why is this happening? Is it a process failure, people failure? Do we need any innovation in this? Do we need any automation in this? So we do a huge review almost every 15 days.
Okay.
And then, from this, projects are taken out for process improvements. From there, projects are taken for IT developments. And all these three are, evaluated on a monthly basis by the CEO, which means, so the company keeps on improving every month in terms of process, in terms of automation. So over a period of time, the complaints have come down. So
Okay.
we strictly implemented a lot of uh, good practices, which have brought down the, but otherwise I can't think of much. So,
Okay. Okay.
but
So,
I think it's more of a culture. Boss should not say you do. I'm saying you do. What I say. So that
yeah.
culture, then this culture of listening will never come.
Yeah. Yeah. True. Okay. Thanks so much, sir. So, that brings us to end of our discussion point. So, thanks so much for all your inputs. And now, let's listen to our audience and see, let's take some questions from them. So, audience, please feel free to reach out, raise your hand, or you can chat, so we can take in your questions, and then we can clarify as much as possible. Okay, let's give them a few moments to prepare.
Yeah, I will go. No, my first question is I'm audible? Utman?
Yep, yep.
Yeah, my first question, to Srivat, so this because I was just going through, on your this website, last to I think last month, due to festival season, I was trying to reach one of my, just relatives, who was staying, in a just very remote area. We used to contact through third party and all, but just he used a term called, spice money adhikari. So I really like that word, the kind of empowerment, so kind of this given, the penetration, it's really appreciated the way, you guys are really working, and that too especially, into this rural part of an India. And as we all know, because whatever, we're talking urban, but there is the same market, the people out there, who are part of this rural. So just Rivat said, do you really think, like pandemic, pre-pandemic and post-pandemic, pandemic has helped us, for you to reach, in terms of, this digital ecosystem, or probably, this digital footprint? What you think, what you see, like next 5 years, what are your challenges or, growth opportunities? This is my
Right,
first question.
right. Thanks for that question. It's
Mhm.
very relevant question. We have grown exponentially during COVID, because when your all traditional alternative options are shut down, it actually forced a lot of customers to get into digital mode. Now, to classify this, a lot of merchants who are into the traditional mode of opening their shops, who could not open their shop, started adopting alternatives like listing themselves with marketplaces. Some of them started taking orders and deliveries over phones for the essential commodities and services, and started delivering it. And to very large extents, when the essential initial phase, if you saw, the banks were also not fully operational. So now filling in the ATM machines, and which is in rural India, the ATM machines is of a large scarcity. So in terms of online orders, placing, delivery ecosystems, and digital ecosystem adoption was exponential growth in last 3 years in terms of COVID. Now, largely, this sustenance of growth will continue for another 5 years till the time UPI doesn't catch up. UPI will take another 5 to 7 years to catch up in the digital India. For the reason which I quoted is because only 35% of the smartphones are penetrated in the rural India. There's a large gap in consumption, and the consumption of UPI and other digital medium also depends heavily on the usage of smartphones. It doesn't work in feature phones effectively. Though NPCI and others are working on alternatives, it will take some more time for people to adopt towards that. Now, when you say that will take another 7 years, then the merchant-led payment ecosystem will continue to grow for another 5 years. And that's what the PwC and other reports have also stated. It is going to grow exponentially. And most important part is India is largely a cash economy. Not everyone have got savings and current accounts and bank accounts. That it's mandatory for people who have the direct benefit transfer schemes coming from the government to have the Jandan account. The Jandan has given an exponential growth in terms of having bank accounts and the right amount of money in terms of DBT going to the end consumers. So this is how the growth will be there. There was a hockey stick because of COVID, but now gradually it will be more flattish. It depends upon how we get an affordable smartphones to the rural India. One, second, it's backed up by technology in terms of telecom. The telecom needs to the rural most part of the India with good amount of connectivity. Still, if you see, even in metros, you have a lot of problem in terms of 2G connectivity coming and 4G is not available. You have a lot of black zones. So this has to ride over the backbone of telecommunication. So telecommunication in terms of just upgrading towards 5G will not solve. You need to have large amount of 4G penetrations in the rural India, which will actually really bring that parity. But largely, if I call from an economic parameters, it's still a cash economy. It requires a structural reforms in terms of direct taxation. More inclusive growth can come when more people participate towards taxation, more legalized money and transaction comings and heading towards the bank. It requires also a lot of reforms from the government side as well.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Srivath. Just one more question. So do you really think, today's, this webinar's topic was about listening. After many, many years, this recent initiative with tie-up with Religare in terms of an, investment equity opportunity. As we see, India, the equity is still, it's in single digit. It seems to be 7-8%. So do you really see, like after many, many years, somebody has heard them and kind of, you're helping them to reach out and, just to do the
Absolutely.
equity this thing. Yeah. If you can
So
just throw some light on that.
yeah, yeah. So the recent 2 weeks ago when we tied up with Religa, the objective was when we are so much connected through the distribution channel towards the financial inclusion towards the end Bharat. What we thought was also extend the depository account because Jandan, a lot of them have opened the bank account. Why not introduce a depository account and then help them participate in IPO? The trigger point for this was the LIC IPO. Now LIC is a brand which doesn't require an introduction, right? Every look in corner in the country, they understand about LIC. So what is the best stage for you to introduce a depository participation and slowly get a equity participation in the Indian market as well? The irony of the Indian market is the entire NSE and BSE put together does not contribute more than 3% to India's GDP. Now that is because the retail participation is very low. Now where do you get this retail participation? The retail participation cannot be concentrated from tier 1 and tier 2. You need to have a smaller ticket size of population participating from the rural India. Now that gives a lot of education opportunity for us, more further connect for getting the financial products towards the rural India. And this is the first step, and we got a very good response in about 2 weeks of time. We got more than 10,000 customers opening their DP account, which shows that there is an interest in the market. All that requires is giving the right sense of understanding, also make them realize. So the concept out here is you need to make them realize that you can become the owner of something that you consume. For example, you're buying a product of say Godrej. Why not buy shares of Godrej from your investments and savings that you're trying to do? So the concept of growing your value creation basis your consumption philosophy is what we need to drive towards the Indian rural market, and that will bring eventually over a period of 1 decade a lot of growth coming in and participation coming from the rural India.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Just my one more question, just to Ishwar sir. Ishwar sir, do you really think, this, you can say importance in terms of the insurance, mainly for an health insurance and all. Of course, the pandemic has, helped us. So do you really think we have kind of an ecosystem or a benchmark in place, in order to cater the rural India, for mainly for insurance awareness? Or do you think what
Yeah,
all
yeah.
we have to do? Because most of the time we believe, let's say people who are working, especially in tier 2 cities also, once they have a insurance from a company, they are like, just they see we have something, like no one is look upon something alternate which can protect them, from like, this which is not seen, unprecedented time. So do you really think, what all, this as an organization who kind of, deal into initiative need to take and, just to create an awareness about the people and how, just they can do for way forward?
No, so the industry has taken up automation, mobile technology in a big way. So, 10 years back, I was traveling to Batanda, for a agents meet. So I used to think that, agents will not have smartphones and all that. So in that agents meet, I realized that this was 10 years back. Everybody had a better phone than me. Okay. So, that's when we started doing a lot of automation, a lot of, online processing and things like that. So industry has really taken up well. If you see initially the first four, government companies did huge amount of, distribution in terms of developing agents, brokers on the ground, and then slowly moved them to, automated environment and ecosystem. Compared to any other country, I think insurance is well advanced. Do we have a lot of things to do? Yes, we have a lot of things to do. We have a lot of miles to go. But I would say it's moving ahead fast with the age, population age coming down. I think it will move at faster rate. But we are much better placed than US or any other European country. But I think we have done fairly well. But there's still a lot to do. And the economy is just growing up. So I think it will catch up.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay. Any other questions from anyone? Okay. So yeah, you're almost close to end of our time. So okay, so if you audience, if you have any more questions, feel free to send us. So we'll try to get you the response back from the panelists. Okay, so that's not an issue. We'll be posting it, and also we'll be watching out for any comments or anything coming up, and we'll try our level best to get you answers. Okay, so thanks so much, and I would like to thank one more time our panelists, Ishwan sir, and Srivats, for being with us, taking time from your busy schedule, and sharing a lot of good insights, how good we are, what challenges we have in terms of listening, where we are going, and things like that. So picked up few good things today during the conversation, how what simple things like in the pharmacies why it won't work, and so the what is working in terms of the financial tech, and what are the good things, how you are approaching the market, especially the rural market. So a lot of good things actually came up in this discussion. So thanks so much for all the good information, and we'll try to engage with you in future for different topics, for an individual contribution or a panel, or for a blog or anything. So thanks so much for your time, sir, and we'll be in touch, sir. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you, man. Bye.
Bye, sir. Bye.
Thank you, audience, for being a patient listener.
Thanks.